I said, look at this Andrew Tate looking motherfucker. He had sunglasses on inside. And I said, this guy has got an ego. But he said he didn't have sunglasses on, but he really does look like Andrew Tate. He really does. But then I met his girlfriend. This was at the summit last year, almost like just past a year ago. The 10X summit, if anybody knows Grant Cardone. And I loved his girlfriend, Dorina. And then we became best friends for that day. And then I went traveling. And then I said, wow, I'm in Turkey and I think I need somewhere to live in the United States now. So then I said, hey guys, can I come live with you? And she said, yeah, let me ask Walter. And then so we had a meeting and they said yes. And I said, damn, I'm going to hate this guy living with him, but it'll be fine. But then we became best friends. And he also thought, who is this chick? She thinks she knows about mental health and she doesn't know shit. It was enemies to friends story, right, Gualter?
It's exactly like that. I don't know if anybody's ever lived with two women before, but two friends before, and I was just like, what am I getting into? Like me and Dorina are already opposite genders, and now we're bringing in this high-powered men's coach into my house, into my life, who literally, called me Andrew Tate the first time she saw me, and immediately disagreed with like three or four of the things I was saying. So it was a very exciting opportunity. I was really looking forward to it.
Well, listen, one thing about me is I have no chill. That's
No.
for sure. I was just thinking so many unhinged thoughts before I got on this call because I ate food and then I got revved up and I said, wow, how many unhinged thoughts can I think? And one of the things, so this is something toxic that you probably shouldn't take with you into the next session. But guys, I just think, and we were talking about being a high value man and being a man who doesn't want to be mid tier. So I was thinking for myself, damn, that's so true. Like in relationships, like if I'm gonna go, I'm gonna leave a mark. Okay. I think you should just be the most unhinged version of yourself. They say leave in peace. No. Okay. I leave in disaster. Disaster. You will never, you maybe leave me, but you never forget. You never forget your life is in ruins. Your life is in ruins. You're praying. I brought you back to God. Honestly, consider me a blessing in your life. So that's all I'm saying. I'm just kidding. That's unhinged thoughts. I like to be a little comedian to myself sometimes. So anyway, let's go
That's
ahead.
it's so funny that you're kind of like this is actually like how you are, right? So you actually are very quite the comedian. You and I have had a lot of laughs. Just
We still need to do a stand-up night. What
I
happened to
know.
that?
I'm easing into it. I went to a stand-up comedy show the other day in Tampa, and I just realized like how little I am prepared for that. And so, so whatever you're down, I'm down. But so
I'm
you know,
down.
I
Wing
am
it.
terrified of it.
We need to wing it. We can go up as a duo stand-up. We just both go up there and fuck it up.
Yeah, if I can just, yeah, I can leverage the fact that all you do in the gym is squats, then
Why
I'm
do you
pretty
always use me
sure.
as the source of your comedy? Listen, I didn't
I
say
need you
duo so
present.
that I could be the joke. See, this is what I had to deal with, guys, in the house. He'd be like, wow, Elise, look at those shoulders. And I'd be like, this is what makes me self-conscious, okay? This is what makes me feel like I'm never gonna find a man.
All right, now I miss you. Okay.
That's what I thought. Okay, anyways, guys, we're doing enough banter. Welcome to the afternoon session of the Year of the Man Summit, day 2. We had some fire people this morning, Dr. Zeb, Emily, Tori, and Ball, who all did the panel discussion. I, of course, did the first session. In each session, if I can say so myself, from the comment section that we've had, gets better and better as we go. And now we have Gualter Amarelo. That's right, Gualter with a G, Amarelo, because he's the G. He is going to be speaking today about why men need a tribe. And I really have I have a lot of admiration for Gualter because he's not just a man who says, he's a man who does. And that's also been a big emphasis for us today. Doing is better than knowing, right? And, he's a multimillionaire. He has his own tribe called Alchemist Nation. He brings people together, helping people become millionaires so that they can help other people become millionaires. So he's global as well. He has a huge impact on the world. And he's here today giving his time to tell you, basically why men need a tribe, because he has not done his success alone. So with that being said, Gualter, I'm handing it over to you and can't wait to see your presentation.
Awesome. So you should probably be scared because I put this presentation together by myself. For everybody who's getting a ton of value from Elise throughout this call and throughout this weekend and through the years she's been serving, drop the word yes in the chat. If you're getting a ton of value from Elise, anything that she has posted over the years from Instagram, from TikTok, from her Facebook, from her lives, if you're in the Better Man community, which I'm a part of, if you've ever gotten any kind of value from Elise, drop yes in the chat. And I think that's, I know as a speaker, as somebody who's contributed to others, we don't hear it enough because we do hear far more criticism from people who are judging the fact that she's out here supporting men even though she's a woman, that she's out here like creating content, which by the way, there are so many haters. If you ever go through her feed, so many haters judging literally every piece of fire information that she's putting out there. So let's give her one more time a lot of love in the chat. Drop the word yes if she's ever added any kind of value to you over the years. And if you've gotten a lot of value from the other speakers, type the word team in the chat. Type the word team in the chat if some of the speakers have given you some value. I know Ryan Wagner personally. He spoke yesterday on A Man's Guide to Becoming Conscious in Relationships. Sabrina Zohar, another great influencer in the space. She talked about loneliness, men's experience, making dating fun again. If you got value from any of these speakers, type the word team in the chat. Steve Haig and Daniel Haig, if you got value from them, top the word team. And the reason we're doing this is because this event and your life are built by teamwork. It's no person is an island. My brother did a talk last year. He talked about men being forced to be islands, men being forced to operate by themselves, to be so strong, to be a steel fortress and never have a place where you could break or be weak. And although there are times where, yes, we as men, we do take on far more responsibility for other people's emotions than we really have to, and we should, there is a time where we do have to be strong, but there is also a time where we have to be able to recharge and to be able to get back from each other. And today's talk, we're going to go into the depth of how those relationships are formed and why they're so necessary. Why men need a tribe is something that's very personal to me. This is something that I have spent years trying to understand and dive into for multiple purposes. One, it started with money. I needed to make money. I needed to be financially free because I went through a terrible divorce. For those of you who don't know me, I built a $10 million business through real estate investing. I have helped and built over 500 coaches and speakers. I've trained over 10,000 real estate agents across the country to learn how to make six figures. And one of the most important parts to all of this has been the relationships that I've built along the way. Elise talked about the idea of building millionaires. That's the mission and the purpose that drives me. I've committed to building 100 millionaires, but over the last 4 years, I've already built 30. And a lot of that comes from accountability, from me communicating with people who are already at that level of desire to be successful, surrounding myself with a team, surrounding myself with people who are really, really go-getters. And if you look at these pictures, so this is obviously our champion, Elise. She spoke at this year's 100 Millionaires Summit. She spoke on a topic that I think men just don't hear enough about. And she talked, and I'm going to share a little bit about that topic. She spoke about the Hulk within, this energy inside of you that is one person might say it's testosterone based. Another person might say it's the fact that we never get to release. Another person could call it a wall of energy that's just based because you're a human being and you want to be alive and you want to be able to experience life and live at a higher level. And Elise made the whole room, there was over 240 people in that room. She made everybody feel like it was okay to occasionally Hulk out. And as somebody who loves the Avengers, I just want to one more time just give Elise a lot of love and support for everything she's done. Now, she did mention that she lived with us, but not only did she live with us, she actually taught me things. And so a lot of what you're going to get from this talk, I don't know if I've ever would have had a conversation like this with another man if it hadn't been for the 3 months that she lived in our house and really took the time to listen to where I was going with my goals. It's no secret that I'm a very successful person. I have a very high achieving desire to keep pushing and growing. But Elise was able to kind of help me lever that to another level. And a lot of that just came from being able to listen and acknowledge the fact that I believe I know everything. And I'm always pushing and saying, yep, I'm acting with such decisive ability that sometimes I don't have a chance to question my thoughts. And so her time as a friend was really, really valuable living like with us. And a lot of times we go to the gym together. And so those little conversations on the road are really helpful. But I did want to point out that Elise can sometimes be indecisive. And those are only when you take her to a new Russian restaurant. So there she is with Darina, checking out like what she actually wanted. What she ended up doing is what I think every successful person does. She just ordered everything on the menu. She just said, you know what? Screw it. Let's just bring everything to the table. And it created such an amazing experience of abundance for me because I was able to, in that night, taste, because my girlfriend's Russian, I got to taste everything from her culture in a single night. And I think a lot of us pent up and build up our emotions and we hold them too tightly and we never go and actually look at the other ones that are out there. I don't think we taste enough of the other emotions and the other experiences. And so today as we're going through this, if you've been one of those guys who's only, sensed two emotions, anger or resignment or resentment or just like stepping back from things, I want you to, consider the idea of other emotions. And if you look at this top left picture, that is Ryan Wagner sitting in the back with Elise. Ryan, who spoke yesterday, is a personal friend. He's a wonderful, wonderful father, a wonderful man, and a great business owner. A personal friend of mine. I've worked with him for years. So like, I just want you to know that the people that are chosen, the team that we're working with to help you get to the next level this weekend are really genuinely good people. And the last picture there is me and Elise golfing at Top Golf. So Elise has always wanted to golf and she's had a lot of experience golfing, but she had never gone to Top Golf. And so I actually got to take her to Top Golf and I was not as good as she was. So let's give Elise a round of applause. If your cameras are on, you can clap it out. She mentioned Alchemist Nation. The larger mission there is making financial freedom available to everyone. So if you have a mission or a purpose, I put this slide up to show you that you can create whatever you want in this world if you just put enough energy behind it. And Alchemist Nation is proof of that. We have over 28 locations with 28 leaders who are building millionaires. So very, very powerful, whatever your dreams are. So let's dive into some of the challenges that men are facing. Today's modern man is not facing lions and tigers and bears or woolly mammoths or T-Rex. Today's man faces a much more dangerous dilemma, which is isolation. And isolation is a temptation all men face. It's not just men, but every human being faces it. But men as a tribe, as an instinctual animal, let's look at the biological side of us. We, in order to survive, isolate. Women, in order to survive, congregate. Because in masses, in order to survive, a woman can go and protect another woman. And if enough women are together in biological states, we'll call it monkeys, the male will protect that and defend those women. But in a male scenario where there are two males and they're fighting over something, because by the way, males generally are always fighting over territory, over women, over food, over resources, it becomes dangerous if you are weak or injured to stay in or near the proximity of men because the other men could just lash out dangerously. And so man over time biologically has decided that it's safer to isolate. And so we just have to be aware that that's not it's not in check anymore in society. That's a biological factor that society is now through technology making it easier to isolate, and so it becomes harder and harder to reintegrate. The second one that we face is mental health stigma. There's a lot of toxic masculinity out there. Elise pointed out one of them, right? Tate, I think, is a very toxic individual, although very successful in business. That doesn't have to be the way you're successful in business. I'm extremely successful in business. And at one point, when Tate became popular, my net worth was significantly higher than his. So it's very important to acknowledge I've always been good and treated people very well. And I never had to talk down or talk badly about another man in order to be extremely successful. So mental health, the stigma around it, you have some people breaking the code. You have Elise, you have Jordan Peterson, believe whatever you believe about a lot of people, but the fact that they're fighting for men's mental health is really, really important. But there's not enough at the cultural level, there's not enough support in the fact that we, powerful men, stronger gender, are walking around with the brain of a child, like or the emotional capacity of a child, because nobody ever took the time to nurture that. So it's a very dangerous state that we are walking around in. And the third one is a lack of fulfillment. There's too many men who put their belief and their purpose on their career. And when their career is dropped, especially men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, whose skills are no longer valuable because of things like AI or technology or robotics, or even just the change of the economy, are suddenly losing their purpose. Or if they only saw themselves as a husband and they go through a divorce, now they've lost their purpose again, their fulfillment. So these are challenges that are faced by modern man. Again, not lions and tigers and bears, but just as equally deadly. And I will get into why those are deadly in a little bit. Before I do, I want to sell you on what I'm going to sell you today. The whole point of this talk is to sell you on the idea of community. So, if you are concerned that I am a very wealthy person, I'm always selling stuff, you're absolutely right. I'm a dangerous salesperson. I am, if you get in a call with me, I will sell you something. Money will come out of your pocket. In this call, I want to be very clear. The reason I'm selling you something is I'm selling you on the idea of community. I care genuinely for your life. I care genuinely for your longevity because community is what helps people live longer. And I care genuinely about you feeling like the kind of man who belongs on this planet doing some really good work. So if you get one thing out of this call or out of this conversation, out of this weekend, I really want to be the importance of community. And if that is all I leave you with, then I have sold to the highest degree of what a man is capable of selling. So I just want to be very clear that you are being sold today. And I want you to be sold on you. I want you to be sold on this idea of community. Show of hands if we understand. This is an individual concept, right? Community is not one-on-one. And if you're driving, please be cautious as you're driving. But the slides, I will try to describe them as much as I can. So today we're going to talk about three different topics. The first is the anthropological roots of brotherhood. Anthropology is the study of human beings. It's a study of our history. If you've ever spent any time watching Discovery Channel, watching Planet Earth or animals, you are also an anthropologist because apparently, even if you're a deep Christian, which I am, it turns out that we came from some of these other animals. These other animals might be our cousins or our distant relatives. And so if you spend any kind of time learning about the planet around you, you're also somebody studying human beings. You're studying the concept of life. And we're going to talk a little bit about your biology today. Next, we're going to talk about the psychological impacts of social bonds, how social bonding can actually make you live longer, or it could kill you if you don't have it. Show of hands if you've ever heard of babies who are not touched being uh, like dying from not being touched. If you've heard of this. This is a physical manifestation of not bonding. Like we can actually see this. So we're going to talk a little bit about how that works. And the third one is building your tribe in the modern world. How to build a tribe today, like how it works and what you need to look for in individuals. Because even though I'm really pushing towards community, I'm pushing towards tribe. Some people are dangerous. There are people out there who could break down all of your dreams and your goals. And so I want to leave you with some really powerful tips on how to find and attract the right people. So understanding our ancestry, this this is whether or not you agree with this, we all came from a place called Africa. At some point, Homo sapien was in this wonderful place, and we moved up and we shifted. And as we shifted, we started becoming in contact with other creatures, other bipeds, and one of them was the Neanderthal. Now, Neanderthal was stronger than us. Neanderthal had better eyesight. They were stronger. They had been better resistant to cold, but they had one flaw. And the flaw that they had was that they were not very good at building relationships. Neanderthal was because of the way that their brain was designed to have better eyesight, they had bigger eye sockets and a bigger brain receiver for information in the back of their brain for visual. They ended up without as much relational brain matter, which, by the way, you as a modern human have a lot more brain matter for relationships. You can remember more people. We're going to talk a little bit about the fact that we have societies. And the societies tend to be about 150 people. That's Dunbar's number, and the emotional support necessary to make a society important. Survival and cooperation are key to all civilization. Ants survive because they cooperate. So Dunbar's number is 150. Robert Dunbar is a British anthropologist and evolutionary psychologist who proposed the number with which is the maximum amount of people you can actually be friends with. So if you have a friend who has 5,000 friends on Facebook or 500 friends on Facebook, the odds are that person doesn't actually know all those people. And the further you get down to people who have like 400 or 500 friends, that becomes a little more accurate. So drop in the chat if you know a person with thousands of friends who really is probably a very lonely person. Drop in the chat the word yes if that is true. If there's people with 5,000 friends who can be absolutely alone and have nobody they could talk to, no real relationship. So Dunbar is the one who actually discovered this, our actual real number. And if you've ever heard this saying that you're the average of your 5 closest friends, that actually came from Dunbar's number as well, from Robin Dunbar and the study he's done on human psychology. So here's the groupings of friendships. Here's how it kind of works. And this is for all society across the country, all across the planet, across the world, every civilization, every race. We all have the same kind of belief system. We have family. These are the people closest to us. These are who we're born with. We would do anything for family. And then we have close friends. And close friends, they can take up about 30 relationship spots in our 150 that we're capable of having. So you have these close 15 family members. It's your mom, it's your dad, it's brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts, grandparents. And that's kind of this 15 group that's really super tight. Some families can be a little bit bigger. And then outside that next range, you have your close friends. And these close friends are the people who you grew up with. These are the ones who you can call in a tough time, where if things are dark, they're there for you. They're also the people who are there to celebrate your wins and your successes. But the way you can differentiate the next group, acquaintances with close friends, is acquaintances are really only there for that beer. They're really only there for the fun times. They're really only there for the parties. Yeah, absolutely, Matt. I'll go back real quick for you, brother. Dunbar's for the anthropological roots of brotherhood, or did you want Dunbar itself? You got it. Absolutely. Grab that screenshot, brother. And if you want access to these slides, all you got to do is send us the email. We'll make sure we get you to them at the end of the night. Awesome. Very cool. So groupings in Dunbar's number. This third group, acquaintances, these are the ones who are the fair weather friends. They're the ones who we talk about all the time of like, is that person really there to support you during hard times, or are they just there for when things are good? They're the person who, like, if they go through and they finally, they meet their love of their life, they never call you anymore, right? You know that person who used to go and hang out with, and then they found their spouse and then suddenly disappeared. That's acquaintances. And then you got this other group, strangers. Now, strangers can be people who you work with sometimes, or they work in other departments. You never know who they are. They can be customers who walk across your desk. They can be the person you go into the mall. And yet sometimes you see these people enough. In fact, I know strangers when I go to the gym. I go to the gym and there's always these same people always working out. Those are strangers whose faces I can recognize, but I don't know their names. I know nothing about them. And so those strangers are in the outside range of your relationships. Here's what it looks like, a little deeper look. And what is really interesting is that men and women have a different number here. So what we're actually seeing is an average of both genders. But men typically, if you look at that 5 range, men are only capable of 3 deep relationships, whereas women are actually capable of the 5. So this 150 number is actually the high end of human capacity in relationship memorization. One of the things that we see at the center is your ego. And people say you're the average of your 5 closest friends, but it's really important to remember that one of those friends is actually you. It's actually yourself. It's your inner self. Now, there's another saying that women always have a best friend. Right? So you marry a girl, you also married her best friend because they come with the BFF. And the reason that is, and if you notice a lot of men, when they get married, suddenly they only have the wife. There is no close connection with any kind of male afterwards. And that is because men are only capable of one intimate relationship, whereas women are capable of 2 intimate relationships, which is either their mother or their best friend. And so in society, we end up getting cut off as men from our closest, deepest male relationships because of our jumping into a relationship with a woman. Now, this is a wonderful design for keeping a family unit together and going through really difficult, tough times, but it becomes an absolute devastating problem when that main relationship is lost. When a man finds himself no longer in the relationship with the woman, he can be completely lost in spiraling out. So it's really important for us to be able to maintain male relationships even at a slight distance. Even if we're not capable of that super deep, intimate best friend, we have to have access to the potential for best friends if we ever fall into a dark situation. Type yes in the chat if you know what I'm talking about. If you've ever been through a dark time where you didn't have any friendships and you realize you dropped the ball somewhere at some point in your life, you just woke up and said, "Oh my God, like where is everybody? What? How did I end up like this? I was the guy before. I had this deep friend before. I had these people, and yet now you try to reach out to them, and it's just been so long. Or they're married, and you notice the connection just isn't there anymore. I want you to know it's not on purpose. It doesn't diminish you. It doesn't diminish them. It doesn't diminish the relationship you had. It is an actual functional capacity that we lack as men. We don't have the capacity to have more than one deep, deep, intimate relationship. And so it's not a failure. It is simply something that occurs because that's how our society has survived. We bond tightly and then we run together as a tribe and we allow the deep connections that our females around us are able to bring to the group. Now, when you don't have a female and you're a single individual male, you end up in toxic situations because you don't quite have that guidance or that balance of how to connect. So as we're going through this, just keep in mind we are perfect just the way we are. We were designed this way, and it's okay to be this way. But also in today's society, we have to be very aware. Can men grow? Can we grow this capacity? I love that question. It's a fantastic question, Matt, and I've thought about it myself. And the answer is we cannot. We can exercise anything that we work on hard enough. Absolutely, but it has to be worked on hard enough. It will not be natural. We can't just say, okay, now I want extra intimacy with my friends. We do have to schedule time. And that brings me to the next part. I don't have a slide for it, but I will share that. I'll go back to this and I'll share this with you. In order to create a acquaintance, this is out here in the 50 range. In order to create an acquaintance, it takes 30 hours of time with that human being. So that can be spent in 15 minutes a day over 19 weeks. Or it could be done in a weekend. You could spend 10 hours a day. You could work together 10 hours a day and do something fun, right? And go on a trip together. That could really create that bond fast, but they'd be an acquaintance. Now, to get to that next level, that 15, that friendship level, that friend zone, to go back to the friends, we'll go over here. To get to this close friends zone outside of the acquaintance, you would have to spend 80 hours together. And 80 hours is a significantly larger amount of time, but it can be done. It can be done in a week. You go on a week trip together. You go on a men's retreat together, and you could spend literally every day, 10, 12 hours a day, and you could deeply bond and then have established close friendships. The key is play, right? We as men, we must play. We learn when we play. We build connections when we play. So when we're doing or learning or growing together with other people, we have the ability to reconnect our brain and have a deeper connection with the people around us. So it's very, very important for it. But let's give Matt, by the way, a big round of applause. A drop yes in the chat, like a TY. Thank you, Matt, for that question. That's a fantastic question to bring to the team. I love that. And now that now I want to add that slide later on. So the evolution advantage of tribes. One, it created higher survival rate. Remember I mentioned the Neanderthals. They died out when Homo sapien came into the space within 10,000 years. 10,000 years. This group of people, humans, who had been here longer than Homo sapien, by the way, suddenly died out when we were introduced into the space. And the reason was their capacity, like even though men are more limited than females, than women, Neanderthal was even more limited than men. They were closer to what chimpanzees are capable of doing. Chimpanzee groups can't get larger than 30 people. So Neanderthal was less than what we are as Homo sapiens. So they had a disadvantage. They had an inability to connect at a deeper level. So when they got isolated, they stayed isolated. And so they didn't breed as often. They weren't able to connect and protect each other when things like global freezing came into place. So when you think about survival rate, why is Homo sapiens so strong? It's because we get together. We support each other. We build tools. One builds the tool, the other one uses the tool. One cooks the meal while the other one's taking care of the hunting of the next product that they're going to go and kill. There's a lot of thought and development that really changed when we started getting together and having conversations around the fire. Hey, by the way, I saw this lion the other day. This thing wiped out this animal. So if you ever see a lion like prowling about the pounce, you need to get out of there. It's something that you need to be aware of. So these fire night chats, which is what we're doing, that by the way, this weekend, the fireside chat, sharing from each other the advice we've discovered in the life. This is how we survive. This is how tribe actually helps humans increase their likelihood of survival by 50%, which is fantastic when you think about it. We only put out a single child over. It takes a 9-month period for us to put out a child. It takes a whole year for us to put out a child, and then it takes 20 years for them to really be able to manage by themselves. So if you think about it, we're also the only species, one of the only species on the planet that puts out basically children who can't take care of themselves, right? Everything else puts out something that can run right away. The gazelle, it's like, boom, within 5 minutes, it's ready to run with the tribe. Our children come out weak. So having a group together, like you've heard this before, it takes a community to raise a child, it takes community to raise a person. That's because it increases our survival rate. A person can watch somebody while somebody else is cooking, while somebody else is hunting, while somebody else is working. Greater access to resources. Oh, let me go back. Sorry. Second thing, that evolutionary advantages of tribe provided are greater access to resources. When there's multiple of somebody tilling the ground, we have more food. When there's multiple people, multiple hunting parties out there hunting for a breed of animal, we're able to take down far more or bigger beasts. In fact, when you look at the Americas, we were taking down mastodons, right? We were taking down mammoths. There are literally proof of tools with Clovis tips inside mammoth bones. So we know for sure humans were taking them down, but it wasn't one person, right? It was tribe that was able to take down much bigger kills. So as tribes, we're able to do this, but not as an individual. And then improved security. This is again something that only happens when you're able to take shifts, when you're able to trust somebody with your own sleep, when you're able to go to bed at night knowing that somebody else is out there protecting you. And if we have any person in the military today, I just want to put a lot of blessings out to our military. It's a tough job. They don't get enough support. They don't get enough love from us. I know there's a whole faction of our country that doesn't even believe we should have a military. And although that would be an ideal world, and I absolutely love the idea of that world, and I can't wait for that world to exist, there is so much peace that comes for each one of us Americans to be able to sleep at night knowing that we have our brothers and sisters out there taking care of us, that we have a tribe that is literally trained in military efforts to keep peace in our country. So type yes in the chat if you know somebody in the military or you're blessed to live in this country. Type yes in the chat. Improved security comes from tribe, right? It comes from being a nation together. So why men need a tribe? The biggest problem is loneliness on the rise. And loneliness kills, and I will prove that loneliness kills on this talk. So I want you, everybody who's listening and saying, tribe, whatever, community, whatever, I want to drive hard the fact that it will make you live longer if you stay around people, if you get around successful people, surround yourself with people who are good, who care about others, who take care of each other, who take care of themselves and want more. And it will kill you if you isolate for too long. Nearly 50% of Americans feel alone. This is a dangerous statistic. This is increasing due to technology. I am a big believer of technology because you and I are connecting right now via technology. But I also am aware that loneliness is increasing due to the ease of disappearing from people, due to the difficulty of emotional connection because we haven't trained ourselves properly. This is a public service announcement that one of the governments put out recently. They're saying that 1/4 of adults 65 or older report social isolation. That's also around the age where you really need to be creating new friendships because most of the people that you've been around may have died, moved away, or are in committed relationships. And so it's time to rebuild those connections. It's also around the time where you start losing spouses, where a spouse that you may have been with for your entire life is no longer there. 1/3 of adults 45 or older report being lonely. And lonely is just one step closer to social isolation. These are dangerous statistics because as you grow, as you get older, by the way, it's increases your risk of mortality by 32%. Take a moment to set that in. Social isolation increases your chance of dying by 32%. Mortality, death, and loneliness, 14%. And what I just shared with you is that loneliness is a step into isolation. It's a degree before. You start feeling lonely before you truly are isolated. And if you do not make the time to go and connect with other human beings, you could end up dying significantly faster than you belong dying. And I believe, and the reason I'm fighting for you right now is because I believe that your life matters and what you're doing is important. And so I want you to look at these numbers and just look at the graph itself of how much that actually is. Imagine if 32%, like the odds of you dying are increased by 32%. That's if you are going to live to 100, that's 30 years off of your life. And if you're only 30 years old, that's your entire life. if you've only ever gone that far. So I just want you to take it very seriously. So the growth of single person households has increased by up to 23%, 28% since 1970. And then the reason this has increased so much is a lot of technology. It really is a technological change. We as a human society, as Americans, we still like to socialize. We still like to go out. The party is still part of us. So it isn't that we as a country have changed. We're still very social as a country. We're so social people. What's happened is the technology has made it more difficult to naturally connect. You're not forced to go out anymore. You're not forced to go to a place anymore. And although I'm not a huge proponent of drinking, and I'm not saying when you get together you have to drink, what I'm saying is that now we only get together when we're drinking. That seems to be the only time that people are getting together. And I'm 100% fine with alcohol here and there, but there also has to be, what about the fire? What about getting together around the fire? And what about going together and raising the barn with your brothers, right? Going and like putting together a house with somebody, renovating a person's property, or even contributing to an old elderly couple. This is like an actual demographic of increase over time. You could see the change. We went from 17% to 28% over a 50-year span. It's not going in the other direction. It's we're isolating. But so I've been a little dark. There are positives. There is change that is possible, and we can change. But one of the beautiful parts about being a human being, being a man, being a Homo sapien on this planet, is we're capable of change. Some positive mental health statistics are that we can actually increase our decrease our chance of depression by 50% simply by having strong social connections. And a strong social connection can be two or three people. It can be one person. It can literally be that one relationship that makes you feel good, makes you feel like your life has matter, has purpose, who just reminds you that you're a good person, reminds you that the things you're doing are important. The other one is that individuals with a robust social network are 22% more likely to achieve greater professional success and report higher satisfaction levels in their personal lives. Now, I have been successful in many capacities. I think I got great biceps, but I've also been financially successful. I think I have a wonderful company. I'm relationally successful. I have a wonderful girlfriend. I have a child on the way. My brother is in town. My brother flew in just to celebrate my birthday with me. He flew in from Boston. I live in Tampa, and he flew down for 2 days just to spend some time with me. So I've been very successful in so many different capacities. And if I were to look at these last 12 minutes, I'd say in this talk, I'm extremely successful in helping you remember how important you are and how important it is to be connecting with some of the people in your life and finding new people. Success in itself is whatever you dream it is, whatever you think it is. So I'm going to ask you to maybe think about surrounding yourself with people who have the success you already want. If it's people who've been married longer, if it's people who are really in great shape, if it's people who have great companies, if it's people who are changing the world. I love the idea of one day maybe being in the presence of Elon Musk, and judge him however we want because he smoked a little weed on the Joe Rogan show, or because he bought Twitter and says some stupid shit now and then. But the dude's done some really cool stuff. Me as a kid, I always dreamed of, going to the moon and like being an astronaut. And this guy's actually making it possible for our society to do some cool stuff. So, and I loved Nikola Tesla growing up. As an entrepreneur, I always thought he was an underdog, and to have Tesla be such a big company is cool to me. So, surround yourself with achievers. Close relationships, the third stat, close relationships, more than money or fame, are what keep people happy throughout their lives, indicating the profound impact of social bonds on overall well-being. There was a study done a while back called Blue Zones, right? And they looked into areas of how people became centennials, how they became 100 years old. And the thing they had all sorts of different diets, they had all sorts of different exercise routines. By the way, you got to eat right, you got to exercise. That's necessary to live a long time. But the one common factor that kept coming up over and over was community. They volunteered. They had people who relied on them. They had tribe. They had social groups that were forcing them to go and do physical activities, to eat healthier, to learn new things, to use the brain. The way you fight dementia in this world, in this country, by which again is going up. Dementia increases, the likelihood of dementia increases, isolation increases. The way you fight dementia is you stay active with other human beings. You learn things together. You teach each other things. You spend some time together learning new concepts and ideas. And then the fourth one is being part of a supportive community not only enhances personal happiness and fulfillment, but it also significantly contributes to achieving success in any endeavor. We are not islands, right? Together, we can achieve more. Here's some of the science behind the connections. 50% reduction in depression rates. When you spend time with people who you feel good around, who you like, who are, by the way, you can feel good around somebody who's just on this call right now, because we're all in agreement that this is a great thing for us to be working on, our mental health. This is a connection. This is a bond that we have together at this moment. So that reduces the odds of depression or the rate of depression by 50%, which means if I like to put the positive spin on things, that increases your happiness by 50%. And it also reduces your loneliness levels by 40%. Just the fact that we're spending this time together, none of us feel alone. We're all here together doing a thing at the same time. And then increases your life fulfillment is 15%. And I feel you, brother. I feel I feel the happiness as well. I love bonding with people around things that we're smart, like growing around. Anything that can really help us level up in life. It makes me feel excited. So if we feel an increased fulfillment, 15%, which fulfillment, by the way, is also a secret to happiness. If you feel fulfilled and your day was terrible, you worked hard, and the kids are crying and your spouse is upset, but you feel like you crushed it as a man, you can somehow smile at your wife, smile at your kids, and get everything back on track and get everybody feeling better in the room. You can change the room simply by feeling like fulfilled in your life. And then an increased sense of purpose. When you have a purpose, a man is unstoppable. And there's a saying in the Bible, give the people hope and they have a chance. But take away hope and they will die. The people perish without purpose, without direction, vision, right? People will perish without vision, I think is the statement. So you need a sense of purpose. Having your brotherhood, having your people around gives you a sense of direction. It gives you a reason to still be here. And one of the challenges we have as men is we face death all the time. We're always seeking it out, right? We do some crazy shit. We're doing crazy things at all times that could take our lives. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that it would be a lot easier sometimes, right? You look at the pressure of life and it's like, man, like I would love to just not have all this pressure. Having your brothers around it intensifies your purpose and makes it, well, it might suck sometimes, but these other guys are in here doing it with me. So, it's all right. Like it's cool. That's what we do. That's who we are. We're great men, right? We're better men. I got the hat actually. I love it. So we're better men, right? We're going out there and we're capable of doing more because we have our tribe. We have our people who are doing more. Let's give Elise a round of applause for these hats. Let's type yes in the chat if you have seen these, and I haven't spaced mine out properly, but if you've seen these and you want one, the brand came out really tight. I love the logo. It makes me feel proud to be a part of it. I'm looking to get myself some polos so the next time Elise is ready to go out and do some top golf, because I'm not about to walk across in the sun, in the Florida sun, across all the golf courses, but I will top golf under the tarp with the blue lights out there. But the brand is coming really nice, and I absolutely love the way this turned out. So some of the modern challenges that we talked about that we do face is the rise of social media usage. It can be detrimental and it can also be great. I think that as men, if we spend a little bit more time commenting on our friends' posts, going out and just saying, man, I'm so proud of you, the fact that you accomplished this, or this is cool, let's do it together, or creating posts together. I think more, fuck the selfie. I think we need more groupies. I think we need more guys taking pictures together as a group saying, here's what we did today. Go out to the gym together, take a selfie, post about it. Share with other men that you are spending time with your brothers, spending time with your brothers and also commenting and saying things that encourage them. Do it out in the public space. I'm all about the DM. I'm all about, taking care of somebody who needs help, that private conversation. Hey man, how you doing? Just checking in, seeing if you're okay. Absolutely. But I think we need to see more public comments of, hey, this person really inspired me. I'm saying this for no reason other than I read their post. I really liked what they did today. And that's just me saying it. I think that if we spend more time turning social media into a positive tool for us, then we can also have a positive impact in the world. The next one is decline of community spaces. There are less places for men to go that don't involve alcohol. That is true. Over time, we've lost a lot of really cool places that were very easy for us to get together and gather, and we just don't do that anymore as a society. There's a lot of really cool opportunities, and COVID really destroyed a lot of great things. I think it's time to bring them back. I think it's time to bring back places in community spaces where men can do what men do. Things like Elks Lodges, where you just got together and you talked about with your buddies about business, or the Masons, the Freemasons, where they get together and they talk about how do we have a better impact, or things like the Better Man community, where it's, hey, let's be better men. Let's go and help other men and develop things so that we can fight the decline of community spaces by creating some of our own. And I've built a great community around the idea of, hey, let's build millionaires. You can build a great community within a community around personal development. And I think as better men, I think as this group, this tribe, I think that we have the capacity to create a safe space for a lot of guys who are looking for a place right now, looking for just a place where they can go and gather together and talk about things. And sometimes, men, we are not quite like women. If you've ever sat down with a woman, after hanging out with your buddies, you get home to your girlfriend or your wife, and she's like, "What'd you guys talk about?" And it's like, stuff. It's like we didn't talk about that. Like, well, how is he doing in his relationship? I don't know. I guess they're still together. Women do take the time to really check in on all of that stuff. Whereas guys, like, we get together and we just bond. We physically spend time together. We could probably be a little more intentional about that. And I just put that as a concept, is to spend a little bit more time thinking about what are we doing together when we're working together. because I believe we should work together. I think that's where men really bond the best. I spent some great years with my uncle building houses. I thought that was like some of the best time of my life was, renovating things, doing flooring. I learned how to plumb from my dad. I learned how to do electrical from my dad. And like those were gifts he passed along. But also while we were wiring things, he'd say, son, when you're playing with electricity, it's a lot like money. And when you're playing with money, it's a lot like water. And when you're playing with water and you're playing with electricity, you could kill yourself if you don't do things the right way. And then he would go a little deeper and he'd be like, you know what? Now that we're talking about this, it's a lot like a relationship. And when you have a relationship and you really charge the relationship, you can do some powerful things. Look at this. And then you flick the switch and the light was working, right? And it's like, damn, like that, fucking magical. Like I couldn't figure out how to do this three-way switch and you figured it out. And then he was like, yeah, and this connection works over there too, because you and I took the time to wire this properly. But the reason it didn't work the first time is you didn't know what you were doing and you just wired shit and you just threw connections in and that's why you kept flicking the breaker and it didn't work. He said all you have to do is know how to wire things properly. Right. And this came from physically working on a house with my dad, like learning about electrical. He was able to instill into my mind that relationships work this way too, that money is currency and that water is also currency. So if money can flow, if water can flow freely, money can flow freely. If water can be diverted into different chambers or different puddles or pools, small or large, then money could be diverted into different puddles or pools. Your bank account, for instance, and in charities, and you can divert things, relationships, connections that were made from bonds that were forged doing things together, but also taking the time to talk, not putting the headphones in while we're working out, like taking the headphones out and doing things together. And the third one is another modern challenge is busier, more transient lifestyles. We are living in a renter's nation. It is so easy to just move and live and just drop everybody and forget everybody. And yes, the globalization of jobs makes it more difficult to stay where you have your close connections and your friends, right? As jobs and companies move to different locations, we have to be flexible and do that. But we have to have the capacity to build our friendships again over and work on them at long distances, which again reminds me of the importance of having access to a tribe that you could, if you had to go and change as a tribe locally in that area. If you did have to pick up everything, you at least know your brotherhood isn't disappearing on you. It's just changing who might be there, but you still have your brotherhood. You still have your people you can rely on. If you needed to contact somebody because you're going through a time that you just don't trust anybody you could talk to, you certainly can't. And by the way, I love the idea of deep relationships with your spouse. There's some stuff you can't talk about. There's just some things that you can't talk about yet with them. Like you have to process it first. Otherwise, you could really have a damaging conversation. So there's some things you do have to go and just process with a brother, just process with somebody who is going to tell you like, bro, like at least you don't have this, like you're being a little crazy right now and love you, but like this could be something that maybe we can go get some help on. Maybe we can go talk to somebody else who's ever dealt with this before, or talk to a coach or a mentor or a guide or a psychologist, right? We need to be able to have those relationships who can guide us in the right direction. So I found this guy. Looks like he's from looks like he's from what is it? The underwater city there. So building your
Aquaman.
tribe. Yeah, that's what it looks like Aquaman's brother there. So building your tribe in a modern world, you kind of have to be a strong mental warrior. You have to become somebody who's going out and doing things differently from everybody else, who has emotionally become weak, emotionally become resigned, and just said, this is how the world is. We're just an isolated, technology just isolate us. That doesn't have to be the truth. We have to change our paradigm. And there are tools to do that. I'm going to give you 3 today. So developing a network of like-minded individuals provides men an opportunity to grow professionally and personally. According to the Harvard Business Review, male leaders who actively participate in community see 68% greater success rate. Now, I'll take a 10% increase. I'll spend millions of dollars to get a 10% return on investment. But if I can get a 68% greater success rate in any activity that I'm doing, you had better believe I'm going to use that. That's an unfair advantage. And I want unfair advantages in everything that I do. Atlantis, yes. Thank you, Matt. Atlantis, you got it. So why men need tribe? To finish, I'm going to close out this talk with one free thing. I'll give you something free because Elise asked me if I wanted to give something free, and I always do. So I will give you that before I get off. But there are 3 steps to building a tribe in the modern day. The first is knowledge. Seek out men with knowledge. Seek out men who are doing things differently than you. If you grew up in the real estate space, seek out men who are in the stock arena. If you grew up in, you only watch football, seek out a guy who watches hockey, right? Seek out somebody who understands a different sport. So seek out knowledge. Men who have advanced in business are great people to spend time with. Men who have been married for a long time, great people to spend time with. The next one is network. So seek out men with good networks, right? Men need connections with each other to find opportunities and support. So seek out men who have good connections, who have great networks, and just message them and say, very honestly, I'm connecting with you because you got a great network. Plain and simple. That's the reason. And then the third one is accountability. Men need to keep each other in check to stay on the right path. So choose people who are on the path you want to be on. Choose people who are going the direction you want to go in. And as you're building your new network, understand if anybody comes in that isn't the right person for you, you can delete them. And also make room for people who might be different from you, who might be a little um, uncomfortable for you, because those are the people who could grow you. Seek out people who are growing, who are on a trajectory of change, and then something for free. So I told Elise I'd give you something free. If you need a path, and everybody does need a path. If money's not your concern, cool, you don't have to go here. But if you want something free, you can get your millionaire path at millionairepath.com, yourmillionairepath.com. And that is a free report that I built. You're going to put in 6 or 7 questions. And then as you fill out those questions, it's going to, at the end, put out a PDF that shares, here's how you make $1 million. One of the questions is, how fast would you like to do it? And I want to be very honest with you, even though there is a 1-year option, that is hard to do. And that only works for people with a net worth of, we'll call it 100,000 or 250,000. Like, you have to have some substantial money kind of set aside to be able to make massive jumps to get to $1 million. I also want to throw out that $1 million doesn't matter. I do want to be very clear. It's just a thing. It's just one more thing that makes your life a little bit easier, but it will also be work. And this path is for free because the real work is done by you. It's not done by me. And the PDF that you get, it will last you for years. Once you've gotten the report, leverage it, bring it to your coaches, bring it to your financial planner, bring it to your real estate agent, bring it to your attorney, and have them take a look at it and just say, hey, this is the path I'm on. This is the way I'm going to become a millionaire. This is the way I'm going about it. How can you help me? Talk to your accountant, talk to your financial advisor, and just say, hey, this is the millionaire path. Like, this is what I'm going on. And the reason most men don't become millionaires, by the way, there are 22 million in the country, by the way, like, just so we're clear, there's a lot of millionaires in the United States and more being built every year. But the reason most men never make it is because they never have a path to get there, never surround themselves with people who are on the same path. So I want to make sure you have your path. That being said, I know there's a Q&A session coming up, and I'm very excited about it. So Elise, what is the next step? Where do we go from here?
Well, first of all, everybody claps for Gualter because that was amazing. So scientific. I do have to admit though, I was like, damn, dude, I'm gonna have to rewatch this recording because Gualter talks fast. The energy of this man, dude, he's on supersonic speed the entire time. I was like, holy crap. I don't know if anyone was taking notes, but your hand has probably fallen off. So I just want to say amazing job, because it wasn't just blabbing to blab. It was like literally giving, valuable information the entire time. So that's why I brought you in. Wasn't just because we were friends. It's because, right? Like, he gave a lot of value, right, guys? Type yes in the chat if he gave a lot of value. Also, you can tell he's been watching a lot of that Tony Robbins, because he made you guys type in there a bunch of words. That's who Gualter is. He's got amazing energy, and yeah, guys. I mean, I lived with him and his girlfriend for like almost 6 months, and every day we had these discussions about how can we do better, be better, feel better. Where's our next growth? What are we investing in next? What are we growing next? And so I know, and that's why I brought him in here, that he's the real deal. I didn't believe it at first because I thought he was an Andrew Tate wannabe. But I can say I sit corrected, and I feel very happy about that. So whatever he's offering you, I say scoop it up. I actually, to be honest, haven't taken the millionaire path yet. Probably should, but I had him there to tell me what to do. So why did I need to take the test? He was going to tell me what to do anyway.
Yeah,
so
you get an unfair advantage. I think the one-on-one calls we do
I just text him. I just texted, what do I do? Do I invest in this? He's like, I don't know, maybe I'll invest in it too. I'm like, damn, dude, if he invested, I'm definitely, I don't use my brain. I don't use my brain. I just give it to Gualter for some things. And that's another thing, right? know who you can surround yourself by, where you don't have to use your brain sometimes, right? Make sure you surround yourself with such experts in their particular expertise. If you have doctor friends, if you have lawyer friends, you know, get a Rolodex of people who are good with their mental health, who are good with their relationships. Everything, like Gualter said, surround yourself with the people that you envy and want to become, so that you can look up to them and you trust them with those things. So that being said, we are going to go into the VIP room so all the VIPs can get their one-on-one time with Gualter, asking those questions. If you want to be a part of that VIP room, because I know some of y'all have been joining the free session and have been missing out on the VIP portion, do not forget you can still purchase VIP and get in on that room. Or if you join the Better Man membership, I'm more than happy to give you access as well. It is a lower cost option as opposed to just spending $300 right now. Plus you get the Better Man membership access, which is the hat that he was showing. So thank you for that. So, okay, guys, that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to go to VIP and I will see you there.